when you dream when you're young, dreams again.
Chasing Mercedes through the woods. She was screaming.
Her 17-year-old body was just barely concealed beneath sticks and leaves. The secrets that put her there,
It's KOS, kill inside.
It's bad, it's bad, it's bad.
buried much deeper.
I was horny and I wanted some sex.
Why did Mercedes Williamson lose her life?
She was becoming what she wanted to be, and she died for it.
What twisted motives led to her death?
He had to silence her to protect his identity.
Just how did a murder in small-town Mississippi become a national news story and a federal crime?
It makes me just want to scream.
Even from the beginning, who killed Mercedes Williamson was not a mystery. Why he did it, well, that's a whole other story.
If you could, Kathy, describe your niece.
Describe Mercedes. Fun, loving, honest. She was very strong woman, strong-headed, you know.
And the headstrong Alabama teen's Aunt Kathy says she had big plans for her future.
She wanted to go to California and do the famous people's hair and makeup because she could do a better job on them than them other people could. And she wanted to be famous for making people famous.
Instead, it would be infamy, and the notoriety she craved would come for all the wrong reasons.
She never made it.
She never made it.
It started when Mercedes met a 27-year-old Mississippi man named Josh Valum, first on Facebook and then in real life.
Who is Josh? What type of person was he?
From what my sister says, he was nice. He took Mercedes out. They'd have dinner. They'd go to the movies. They had a relationship, girlfriend-boyfriend relationship.
Here, the apparently happy couple can be seen surrounded by Josh's friends at a beach party, a night police would learn much more about in the months to follow. Not long after that photo, for reasons still not completely disclosed, Josh and Mercedes broke up, and for the next several months, they were out of each other's lives. Then, depending on who you believe, a chance encounter.
On May 30th, what happened to Mercedes?
That day probably started out like any other day for Mercedes. She was walking down a parkway in Dauphin Island. Josh Valum showed up, literally on the side of the road, rolled down the window and asked her to get in the car. And Mercedes got in the car with him.
It was the last anyone would see of her alive. 2 days later, and roughly 70 miles away, the George County, Mississippi Sheriff's Department gets a call from a concerned father.
I initially took a phone call from Josh Valum's dad on Monday, June the 1st, saying that he believes his son had murdered somebody, and he was under the impression the body was on his property. When we first got there, we discovered a foul odor of, decomposing flesh.
And then they see it, a dirty pink flip-flop resting on lifeless legs.
And we come across the body, which was laying face down with loose vegetation covering the body. From the dress appearance, it was a female. But due to the trauma to the head and insect activity, we were not able to identify who it was.
It was only after the body was sent to the morgue that authorities, and soon the rest of the country, would learn the identity. Coming up,
The person wasn't who I thought he was.
a motive for murder that will leave you stunned.
We were kissing. I was groping.
What did you know at that point?
It was very, very horrific scene because of the mutilation to the head.